Hello everybody, how are you? So what we are going to learn from this video? In this video we are going to learn the second point from the third section. The chapter is Nationalism in India, and the third section was Civil Disobedience Movement. Its first point was, as this section was divided into three parts. First part was the Salt March and the Civil Disobedience Movement. And the second point which I am going to discuss from this video, how participants saw the movement. So before start the explanation from this point, I would like to recall you its previous point what I had explained. So in first point you have heard in 1929 Lord Irwin he offered a round table conference which was going on in London to Congress leader and Mahatma Gandhi, but he denied to accept this conference. So Gandhi ji sent a letter to a Lord Irwin, and that he wrote a 11 demand which was connected to the peasants, okay, women, industrialists, worker, these all the things. And one of them, there was one main demand that was abolish to salt law. So Gandhi ji even sent this letter. Okay, Lord Irwin, he ignored it. Gandhiji clearly said, he declared through the letter, if you will not accept our these demand, will start a civil disobedience movement. But when Lord Irwin ignored it, Gandhiji's start on 11th of March, it means through this letter, Gandhiji given the ultimatum. He given the ultimatum to the Lord Irwin, but Lord Irwin he ignored, he denied, he didn't care of that, and just 12th of March, Gandhiji started his salt march. And 240 miles he walked, he covered, and every day he walked 10 miles. And when he started his march, at that time there were 78 disciples, there were 78 volunteers who joined them. Gandhiji reached in Dandi, Gujarat. Dandi, it was a coastal area of Gujarat. After reach over there, Gandhiji made a salt. Okay, he boiled the water and made a salt. And through these, he just sent the message to the Britishers, now I break your law. And after the Gandhiji, everybody start to make a salt. Even they will start to making salt in front of British factories. British salt factories, in front of the British salt factory, they started making law, and they were violent was spreading over here and there. So, and British, they were very brutally behaved with the Indians, with that people who were participating in this movement, because neither here they were cooperating and nor obeying their rules, their law. So Gandhiji again when he felt very bad when seeing to these all the violent around the society. And at that time he was called through the Lord Irwin, and Lord Irwin said them again offered a second round table conference which was going on in London. This time Gandhiji accepted. He said, okay, I will go to round table conference, but before go there, you'll have to release our political captive. You have to release our political captive. So Lord Irwin accepted, and Gandhiji in 5th of March 1931, he signed a Lord Irwin Pact. That was called Lord Irwin Pact. And in December 1931, 5th of March 1931, Gandhiji signed a Lord Irwin Pact, okay. And in December 1931, Gandhiji sent he went to London, okay, round table conference, there were a round table conference, but he come back to January 1932. But when he come back over there, he was very disappointed. And after coming back to India, he saw that there were Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru. They both were still in the jail, still inside the jail. So Gandhiji, and there were lots of brutality was doing through the Britishers with the Indian. So Gandhiji again he relaunched the civil disobedience movement. But this time, how people reacted when Gandhiji again relaunched the civil disobedience movement, how people reacted. So here we will learn before civil disobedience, before call of the movement. Okay, when first civil disobedience movement was start, how people reacted, and after call of when civil disobedience movement relaunched, then how people reacted. So here in this video we will learn the difference between before the call off and after the call off. Okay, when first start civil disobedience movement and when relaunch civil disobedience movement, so how people reacted. So here different social group that participated in this movement. Okay, and when we talk about a village, in village there were a village, as you know, village who were living in a village who were peasants, those whom have their own land or some of them working in the other person land. So in village there were peasants, rich peasants and poor peasants. First we talk about the rich peasants. Who were the rich peasants? In Gujarat, rich peasants call a patidar, and in Uttar Pradesh, rich peasants call a jats. They both produce a commercial crop. They both produce a commercial crop, and sometimes what had happened? Actually, when there is an economic depression came in the society, came in the market during after 1926 to 1929-30, there was an economic depression, and because of that, they were doing crop business, in the sense only they cultivated, they sowing crops and they selling their crops in the market, either inter-regional market or international market. But cause of economic depression, their crop was not selling. Export was declined. Okay, the demand of their crop from the foreign to the foreigners, it was declined. But Britishers, what was doing with them? Britishers asking revenue. Britishers saying them, so what? I didn't care of that whether your crop are selling, whether your crops are selling or not. We need a money. We need a revenue. So they said, from where, how we give you revenue? So they wanted that decline our revenue. What they wanted that we don't have a money to pay the government revenue, so they wanted decline the revenue. Okay, this is what their main demand, and the refusal of the government to reduce their revenue demand led to widespread resentment. And what had happened after that? See, actually, when first Gandhiji launched its civil disobedience movement, these rich peasants, they organizing their community, and at that time they were forcing to convince their community, they were forcing to convince their people to participate in this movement and boycott the programs. Okay, and boycott their British good, their foreign goods. Okay, because for them the Swaraj mean what they were taking, how they were taking the Swaraj, for they were taking Swaraj as a struggle against the high revenue. But what had happened when Gandhiji called off this movement? When Gandhiji called off this movement, they all got very disappointed. They didn't feel good. And when the Gandhiji relaunched, because Gandhiji called off the civil disobedience movement without the revenue rate being revised. Revenue rate had not been revised, so they all got disappointed. And so when Gandhiji came back from the London, from the second round table, and he relaunched the civil disobedience movement, so many people, they refused to participate in that. So this was the story of a rich peasants. Now we talk about the poor peasants, how they have reacted before call of the movement and after call of the movement. So if we talk about the poor peasants, so poor peasants, first of all, they didn't have their own land. They working a rented land, and they had to pay land rent to the landlord. either patidar or jars, whomsoever land they have taken in a rent. So they had to pay rent. And what they were saying, they wanted that give me a unpaid rent, unpaid rent, okay, the landlord to the remitted. They wanted to remitted the rent. They wanted that at least do something. They were convincing the Congress leader. They were saying the Gandhiji, at least do something that these landlord didn't charge so many rent, didn't charge our rent when we don't have a money. So from where we give a rent. And they joined a variety of radical movement, often led by a socialist and communist. But Congress, they were not supporting. Congress leader, they were not supporting to these poor peasants. Why? Because these rich peasants who were producing a commercial crop and who gave them their land for seeding, sowing and cultivating their crops. Okay, through these peasants, Congress leader getting a finance, getting a money. Okay, so they cannot go against them. They clearly said, they declared that we don't support no rent campaign. So that's why the relation between the Congress leader and poor peasants, that was not very good. That was very uncertain. Now we talk about a town. If we talk about a town, in town there were industrialist, rich merchant and a worker. So we talk about a town. In town there is a Indian merchant, okay, rich merchant and industrialist. What they wanted, actually, India was a colonial country. It was the colonization of a British. So Indian merchant, the British government, British government implemented such a colonial policies that restricted their business activity. And what they wanted the protection against the imports of foreign goods. So there were two support Indian business. To support Indian business, two factor was made. Okay, what factor was made to support Indian business? There were two factors. First factor was a federation. Sorry, there were two Indian business, two federation. Two federation was made. What was that two federation? The first federation was made Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress. That federation was made in a 1920, and second federation that was made in a 1927. FICCI. That's name is that FICCI is a short name. Its full name is the Federation of an Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industrial. And these two federation was led to a Indian businessman, that's Purushottam Das Thakur and G.D. Birla. So what they wanted, the industrialists attacking these two industrialists. They were attacking colonial control over the Indian economy. What they wanted, they were supporting the civil disobedience movement. Why they were supporting two civil disobedience movement? Because they wanted that to buy, if you are going to buy a thing, so buy Indian things, not a foreign things you buy. And even they support to national they financially support, they give a financial aid to the Congress leader. And most businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when the colonial resentment, they wanted a colonial restriction. Why colonial restriction they wanted? Because the business would be no longer exist. If they restricted colonial business, then their business, like British's business, will no longer exist. And their industry would flourish. Okay, they wanted their industry would flourish. So that's why they were trying to boycott it. They were convincing to the people to avoid, to ignore the buy the things of foreigners like Britishers who were sending a high volume things. Okay, and but after the failure of a round table conference, when Gandhiji come back from the second round table, January 1932, these business groups, they were no longer unformally enthusiastic. They also felt very bad because what they were expecting, things was not happen what they were expecting, and they were apprehensive of the spread of militant activities and worried about a prolonged disruption of a business, and as well as the growing influence of socialism amongst the younger member of the Congress. Now we talk about a worker. Worker, what was the problem of worker? So worker, the industrialist working class, the person who working in these industries, that's called worker. The industrial working class, they did not participate in the civil disobedience movement in large number. So many workers, they had not participated in a civil disobedience movement except Nagpur region. Only Nagpur region, Nagpur is in a Maharashtra. Only Nagpur region people, Nagpur region native, they participated in a civil disobedience movement. Why? As the industrialists, they came closer to the Congress. Why? Because the industrialists, they came closer to the Congress. They were giving a financially aid to them. Okay, and workers stayed aloof. Workers having a problem against them. Okay, workers have a problem against them, like poor peasants have a problem against them, and they were the richest person of the society, richest group of the society. They were giving a financial aid, so Congress cannot go against them. So that's why everybody had their own problem, why they were not supporting to civil disobedience movement, why they were not participating. But in spite of that, some worker did participate, some of worker participated in the civil disobedience movement and selectively adopting some of ideas of the ideas of the Gandhian program, and like boycott of foreign goods, they boycotted, like worker, they did boycott the foreign good as part of their own movement. They were favoring a Swaraj, they were favoring a civil disobedience movement because they have their own problem. What they were wanting, they were against the low wages and poor working condition. Okay, so this was their problem. Now they were strict by a railways worker in 1930 and dock worker in 1932. So in 1930, thousands of workers in Chota Nagpur, the tin mines worker, Gandhi cabs, and participated in the protest rallies and boycott campaign. But the Congress was reluctant to include worker demand as a part of program of a Satyagrahi. As I told you, why Congress was reluctant, why Congress was not willing to fulfill their demand, as Congress were giving financial aid to through the industrialists. So it felt that this would alienate industrialists and divided the anti-imperial forces. So that was the problem of a worker. Now we talk about a women. What was the problem of a women? So another important feature of the civil disobedience movement used the large scale participation of a women. What was that? That during the Gandhiji Salt March, during the Gandhiji Salt, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen him. While Gandhiji was doing his short march, thousands of women came out from their home and listened him, and they participated in a protest march. They were manufacturing salt and picketed foreign clothes and liquor shop. In fact, many of the women, they sent to a jail. They sent to a jail cause of doing these all the thing. And in urban area, these women were from high caste families, and in rural area they came from the rich peasants household. Okay, when we talk about in village women came from their family, and in town women came from their family. And what Gandhiji said? Gandhiji said that Gandhiji called that they began to see service to the nation as a sacred duty of a women. They said that it is the sacred duty of a women. Yes, this increased public role and did not necessarily mean any radical changes in the way the position of a women was visualized. And Gandhiji was convinced, he ultimately convinced that it was the duty of a woman to look after home and health, be good mother and good wives. And for a long time, the Congress was reluctant in the sense Congress was not willing to allow women to hold any position of authorities with the organization. So it was keen only on their symbolic presence. So that was the participants saw the movement. Here we told you about the different participants like rich peasants, poor peasants, industrialists, worker and women. Their support, how they support before call of the movement and after call of the movement, and what was the reason why some of them supporting in a very high manner and some of them not supporting in a very high manner. So hope you understand this section what I had explained you, and so have a nice day. Bye bye and take care.